Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So this week's Torah portion, Vayera. So every day at noon on this Zoom channel and also on Facebook, we gather and we've been breaking up the Torah portion into its 7 parts and studying each aliyah in depth each day. And then I try to bring it home with something that sticks out for me to share with everybody tonight. And so there's a lot that actually went on in this week's Torah portion. And we could really look at it through 3 different lenses. We could look at it through the life of Isaac, where it goes from his birth to a near-death experience. We could look at it from Sarah, where it opens with her giving life, and then right in the beginning of the next parsha, she passes away. We can look at it through Abraham, as centered around Abraham, where he goes from questioning and challenging God to God challenging him. And so as I look at this text, the predominant themes that have arisen for me are the balances of justice and mercy that Abraham is faced with, and it's this dialogue that goes on throughout the whole parsha between Abraham and God. God testing Abraham's faith, Abraham challenging God's sense of justice, and the two of them together on trying to seek about what it means to live in a world where there is a balance of justice and mercy. And so while I can really focus on these main archetypes of the story, I'm actually going to focus tonight on a marginal character, or 2 marginal characters. So embedded in this week's Torah portion, there is the story about this destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, of Sodom and Gomorrah, and culminating in Lot's wife turning into a pillar of salt. So just to summarize what happens, 2 divine messengers arrive disguised at Lot's home and warn him to collect his family and leave immediately before the impending destruction of the whole town. He's told but one precaution: flee for your life, don't look back behind you, and don't stop anywhere on the plain. Flee to the high country, lest you be wiped out. Though Lot lingers, he and his wife and 2 of his daughters leave Sodom at once. En route, we learn that Lot's wife turns around and is transformed into a pillar of salt. Our tradition provides numerous explanations for this occurrence. In fact, there are geological structures to this day that look like somebody turning around. The Midrash on Genesis Rabbah blames Lot's wife, suggesting that when these messengers came, she ran to a neighbor and asked for salt, thereby tipping off the people in Sodom that they had guests. Another tradition poses that she looked back because she left behind 2 of her daughters with Lot's son-in-laws. And so she's looking back in pain and in anguish. So Judaism, as per usual, has many different interpretations and understandings for this single event. But the question is, why salt? So in biblical Judaism, salt is a sign of the covenant. It is offered with all the sacrifices. Modern Jews still use salt as in the ritual of blessing of the challah on Shabbat. So perhaps salt is a reminder for us about what our tradition later calls Edith, Lot's wife. Edith is a word that means witness. And Lot's wife is a witness that when we are saved from danger, we should not leave others behind. She is representative of the covenant in which all of us are included. This is from my teacher, Rabbi Joel Hammer. But for me, Lot's wife comes to teach me something much deeper than just a nameless biblical figure. And this action of turning around and looking back is, in fact, a natural human reaction. We all feel the urge sometimes to look back. And so, while in the story, Abraham is called to sacrifice his son, I pray that none of us are ever put in a position to be called upon to sacrifice any of our children. But for tonight, let's look at Lot and Lot's wife and reflect upon what does this mean, what this story comes to teach us, and how can we influence our lives today. So drawing upon the mythic landscape, there are in fact 2 other stories from Greek and Roman myths that shed light on this most common of human actions. And tonight I'm going to call it existential rubbernecking. Okay? We all know it from driving, but this is when we have to look back because something else is going on in our lives and we can't control ourselves. Okay? So we have Philemon and Baucus in Ovid's Metamorphosis. Ovid is the last of the Latin elegists, right? The love elegists. living during the time of the turn of the first millennium. And in the story of Philemon and Baucus, we have similar occurrences. So these two are met also by two divine disguised messengers. They're told to flee their home at once before they're destroyed, like our story in the Torah. Yet when they flee, they both turn around and see the destruction of their village, but when they do, they marvel at how humble their humble abode has been transformed into a temple. Next, we have another, Orpheus and Eurydice, appearing in the works of Virgil and Plato and Ovid. And here, another couple caught in this cautionary injunction about not looking back. Newlywed Eurydice is bitten by a snake and dies. Orpheus serenades the underworld in order to get her back. He succeeds, but on their way back to Earth, against one restriction, Orpheus looks back and loses his love a second time, and this time forever. In all three of these instances, there is a sense of fear and attachment embedded in the action of turning around. These three mythic archetypes can be found in all of us. I'm sure we go through this experience at some point in our lives. With an unknown future that helplessly bombards us, we try and stay present in every moment. In the face of this, we sometimes turn around and reflect on the past. Maybe we regret our past, avoiding the present. When we look back, what do we experience? Is there regret? Is there sadness? Is there love? Is there anger? Is there joy? My guess is that it's probably a beautiful web of all of it. Sometimes we can cling on to the moments in the past in order to avoid what's happening right now. And this can sometimes take us down a destructive spiral, and one that can be difficult to emerge from. Sodom, is a representative of that very place of destructive habits, negative thought patterns, and uncontrolled anger and attachment. Perhaps we can recognize this experience that happens within our story in the Torah arising in us sometimes. That part of us sometimes lingers in the past because we don't want to leave it. Part of us may bargain to stay close to the past instead of journeying to the high country like Lot is invoked. Get out of this place, get to this higher ground. Part of us may be unable or not ready to let go of certain things that happened in our past. And so we ignore the present, face the past, and can get stuck. Like Orpheus and Eurydice, sometimes we have to venture back to the past to try and fix it, because we cannot live in the present without trying to fix the past. And so we take this perilous journey back, unsure if we can even affect change. Orpheus was able to redeem his love, bring her back, yet something still lingered in him, and he was unable to trust the new present he created, and it ruined the present moment for the rest of his life. When Philemon and Baucus were called to forge ahead, they did not delay leaving their home. And when they were far enough away, they both looked back together, and though they saw destruction, they were also able to see beauty. They did not try to fix this past. That wasn't what they sought to do. They noticed and they reflected on the destructive elements, acknowledged them as part of life's process, and at the same time were able to see the beauty amidst the imperfections. How do we respond and react when we turn around and reflect on difficult times and moments in our experience in our own lives and in the world? Lot and his wife, Orpheus, Eurydice, Philemon, Baucus, come to teach us about the possibilities of looking back. We are told to forge ahead. Lot and his wife were told to forge ahead. Recognizing that it is hard to leave past experiences and not cling to them, Lot is hesitant to completely leave behind his past. He lingers, and ultimately you can only make it halfway. He chooses to go to what a place where the text calls a small place, a narrow place, instead of going all the way to this higher ground. For whatever reason, his wife, Lot's wife, Edith, turns around. She is experiencing pain, loss, confusion. Ultimately, this immobilizes her and paralyzes him. To be able to let go is to accept the past and embrace the present, as difficult as that might be for us. To learn from mistakes and blessings of the past, but to not be controlled by them. To look upon the past as Philemon and Baucus did, acknowledging the destruction while experiencing the beauty. It's up to us whether we choose to dwell in a small place, in a narrow place, or journey towards higher ground. It is in this higher ground, this higher country, where we do not need to look back. We do not need to turn around. For all the experiences and lessons are within us as internal guides at every turn, sojourning into the wonder of the future. But that wonder cannot exist if when we look back we get frozen. And so the next time we catch ourselves dwelling in past experiences, turning around, trapping us, may we remember these stories. It's our choice. How will we choose to reflect and turn around and look at our past in a way that keeps us in the present moment and keeps us moving forward? Shabbat Shalom. May we continue to forge ahead together, always to higher ground, reflecting on the beauty and the preciousness of every present moment, the beauty of the past with whatever has been in our past, honoring it, not being stuck in it, moving forward together.